Marty Nemko. Favorite Tweets, Collection 3. Here is another collection of my favorite recent tweets and a couple of retweets. On work. Nonprofits claim to care about worker rights, but often use as many volunteers as possible, thereby skirting even the minimum wage law. When they do pay, it's usually low. Don't you believe in the cause? Hypocrisy reigns. In negotiating your compensation, don't overemphasize salary. Any that you rest, W-R-E-S-T, will be taxed at your top rate for federal, state, and local income tax plus Social Security and so on. You will likely come home with only half of any extra you negotiate, and the employer gets nothing in exchange. Prioritize, for example, an improved job description, a training budget, remote work, your title, etc. Corporations unfairly get a bad rap. For example, without corporations, you couldn't watch this. You need a computer, a monitor, a camera, a chair, a room. All that's affordable because of efficiency that is possible only in a corporation. Changing career is tough. The cost of training, usually while foregoing income, and then you have to convince a good employer to hire you over people with experience and to pay you decently. Is changing career worth it? Only occasionally. People's malaise about career number 1 often follows them to career number 2. Especially if networking has yielded little career benefit for the time and effort, consider redirecting your efforts to the steak rather than the sizzle. For example, build a skill, work more diligently, have a better attitude. AI kills jobs in unnoticed ways. For example, not long ago, when homeowners had a problem, say insects in the house, if supermarket-bought spray didn't take care of it, they called a pest control company. Now, a Google search yields an AI summary and YouTube videos that often yield DIY solutions. Conventional wisdom is family first. Sure, we accept an MD who takes night calls and therefore saves more lives, but even say a manager who puts out fires, thereby pleasing coworkers, boss, and customers, is defensible, especially as juxtaposed against routine family activities. Don't read or memorize a talk you're giving. Talks, unlike when you're sending an email, should build chemistry and action. Reading and memorizing leach both of those, so does PowerPoint. If you need PowerPoint as a crutch, keep the screen on only when you want them to look at a slide. Self-acceptance restricts growth. If you accept what is and what will be, you're less likely to try to improve. Think about how you've spent today. Now imagine your decision rule for how to spend each minute today was, how can I be most productive, ethically productive? Wouldn't you feel you were living a better life? Now on education. It's not surprising that college enrollment is declining. The soaring costs, the relentless anti-white male bias, and that half of graduates are unemployed or with jobs that need just a high school diploma. By the way, I have a link to all assertions that need one in the text version of this, and I'll have a link to that below. And that doesn't consider the half of students that drop out of college. And now, there is job-killing AI. Fewer than half of freshmen at so-called four-year colleges graduate in 4 years, only 53% if given 6. A major nationwide study, Academically Adrift, found that in the most core of competencies, thinking skills, between freshman and senior year of college, 36% of students grew not at all, and 45% grew minimally. Expensive colleges get their reputation much less from teaching quality than from research, which often is not worth the taxpayer cost, even if the results are replicable. Community colleges are underrated. Many teachers and professors pack classes with too much content. That boosts the chances that students remember little, skip readings, cheat on tests, and use Cliff Notes and AI to do papers. And you've thereby buried what you most care students learn about amid the unimportant. Colleges can no longer promulgate their dream of a socialist or communist society in light of their worldwide failure. So they've concocted enlightened capitalism, that society's producers should create products for have-nots who pay little, and the government should increase producers' taxes for the privilege of having done that, created those products. There are more important things to be required of all high school students than algebra, geometry, and calculus. An example, a course explicitly on critical thinking, which is an antidote to the metastasizing acceptance of bumper sticker rhetoric. This from Charles A. Murray. Fellow Americans, you have no idea what a big proportion of federally funded research on important sectors like education and health is spent on absolute bullshit. Just because it sounds like it should be useful doesn't mean it is. And this from Chris Rufo. Harvard wrote a plan to increase the proportion of women and minorities in certain occupations to more than 90%. It's not about equal opportunity. It's about punishing whites, men, and especially white men. Now a couple of tweets on practicalities. When I'm hiring for home repair, I avoid company overhead, and I know who will actually do the work by hiring a one-person business that has fine Yelp reviews. On the phone, I sense their competence and their fairness. I hire on the spot and treat them with respect. I offer them food and drink, and if the work is good, I give them a tip. We tend to honor so-called heirloom plants because they're supposedly natural, but the truth is, most heirlooms perform worse and are more disease-prone. And many people don't realize that hybrids aren't GMO. Hybrid fruit, hybrid vegetable, hybrid flowers are hybridized just as Father Gregor Mendel did 175 years ago. Now on critical thinking. Dare disagree with what I call the new orthodoxy that we should redistribute yet more from society's contributors to the pool of others, risks the 3 C's, censure, censor, and cancel, whereby you lose friends, reputation, and or your job. I often wear a small Merit Matters button. At a coffee shop, someone asked me why. That's because it's a token of support for my many Asian and white male clients who swear that they've been passed over for good jobs or graduate schools because they're of the, quote, wrong demographic. Merit matters. Disagreeing on politics will likely only harden the person's position. Ironically, the McCarthyist censorship from the right that the left keeps harping on 75 years later is dwarfed by the left's censorship and canceling today. Google's AI, is or was called Gemini, changed the race of white people to black and indigenous people of color, BIPOCs, when it wasn't true. Even George Washington was made black, and its images disproportionately use BIPOCs for positive terms like scholar and good person, white men for negative terms like sleazy, lazy, and evil person. I searched Google on that, and its AI summary response admitted it deliberately does that in light of the past. AI, like the media, like the new Superman movie, is super woke. The Dunning-Kruger syndrome, in unvarnished terms, is that he or she is not smart enough to realize that he or she is wrong. With a friend or a romantic partner, as with most tough-to-fix characteristics, you either need to probably just accept their basic self or maybe find somebody else. When somebody says something I disagree with, especially if they're fervid, it's overly passionate, I typically say, I understand. That avoids an exchange that will likely generate more heat than light, and avoids my lying and saying I agree. And finally, this is an image, and it's Queers for Palestine, and from the BBC, and the title is Gay Palestinian Ahmad Abu Mahia Beheaded in West Bank. In any event, those are some of my favorite recent tweets, collection of 3. As usual, I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments, and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. And certainly would welcome you taking a look at any of my 35 books. Perhaps most relevant is A Dose of Reality, but all 35 are on Amazon. In any event, I thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.